Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
Joining us from the Dubbo Regional Council, we have the Mayor, Matt Dickerson. How are you doing?
I'm going very well, thank you. Actually, a very uplifting weekend. So, in good spirits here in Dubbo at the moment.
All right. Well, let's go there then. And you're talking about the World Cup.
I'm talking about a few things that happened on the weekend, actually. So the World Cup is one of the things that happened on the weekend. Isaiah Yeo, a good Dubbo junior, played in the World Cup. That's pretty exciting, playing for Australia for a start, but playing in a winning World Cup against Samoa on the weekend. But, of course, Matt Burton, another Dubbo junior, played in the World Cup team. Didn't play in the final, unfortunately, but was still part of the World Cup victory. So to have two Dubbo juniors, both played for St John's Junior Rugby League here, to have two people even from the same community, from the same city, playing for Australia at the same time, playing in a World Cup win, I think it's pretty exciting. And they're both really good ambassadors. I actually sent both of them a text message yesterday to say congratulations and well done. And I think I'm just really proud of the way they behave themselves and the way they represent Dubbo. I think they're great ambassadors for Dubbo.
Yeah, no, the whole team has done very well from Mal Meninga all the way down to whoever else was running around with a water bottle.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And again, the fairy tale for Samoa, there was the hope from obviously people in Samoa that there might have been the fairy tale all the way, but Australia's just too good, too clinical, too strong across the entire park, and you don't need to make much of a mistake from the opposing team, and Australia's all over you.
Jokingly on my Saturday sports program, said that I was going to go for Australia 2 because Australia 1, which is the Australian team, and then Australia 2, which was basically Samoa.
There were a few NRL players in that team, weren't there?
So many Penrith players as well. Yeah, remarkable, but well done to both teams. They both put on a great show.
Yeah, indeed.
Let's go to the flooding stuff. How's the Duke of Wellington Bridge looking?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Rod. The Duke of Wellington Bridge, I think, looks okay. You just can't get to it. So it's the classic bridge to nowhere at the moment. We're going to get some engineers to look at the actual structure of the bridge. And what we're talking about here is the Bell River that goes through Wellington joins up to the Macquarie River. And at that junction is where the Duke of Wellington Bridge is. So that's a low-level bridge. It was put in, if you remember, way back in about 1989, the main bridge in Wellington collapsed. It was caught by a truck going across the bridge, caught across the top supports. And so they put a temporary pontoon bridge in, but then while they were rebuilding the main bridge, they put a low-level bridge in. And that was down Gabolian Street in Wellington. You go across the Duke of Wellington Bridge. And there was a report done back in 2018 by the Soil Conservation Service that actually highlighted a couple of areas along the Macquarie and Bell Rivers where there was some high levels of erosion. And one of the highest priority areas that was mentioned in that report was that intersection of the Bell and Macquarie. And they said in that report that erosion was occurring at about 3 metres per year. And at that rate, you're going to have an issue with the entrance to the Duke of Wellington Bridge because the erosion of that riverbank would eventually get to the stage where the road to the bridge was going to be inaccessible. Unfortunately, nothing was done about that. The Council of the day had a workshop, looked at that report and decided to do absolutely nothing. Here we are 4 years later. And again, that was the perfect time, to do something real because you had a drought in 2018 and 2019 and even into 2020. So that was the perfect time to do something while that river was so low, while there were low flows in that river. Unfortunately, they did nothing. And so there's no surprise here we are 4 years later with these flood events that are going through, obviously, the whole region. That soil erosion has occurred so much that now the entrance to the bridge is inaccessible completely. So you can't get down to that bridge. So that's all blocked off at the moment. We're getting engineers to look at the bridge. We'll have to make some decisions once the waters start to recede and we get to the stage where we could actually do something about it to see what we might be able to do, how expensive that might be, and really look at that. But it is the classic case, Rod, of prevention is absolutely better than cure. The cure is going to be a very difficult, complicated and expensive process.
Maybe a new bridge across there in a different format.
Well, a different location, that may be one of the options. Moving the existing bridge, there are a number of different options. None of them sound great to me.
All right, while we're talking about that sort of area, travelling down from Dubbo to Wellington and then across to Orange, it's a single carriageway, I don't know, built in 1822 or something like that, maybe even earlier. Is there any plans to ever upgrade that to a good highway?
Well, that'd be a great question for our state government. Of course, that road is all controlled by the state government.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very complicated process with roads, and in any council area, you've got local roads, regional roads, and then state roads. Now, that highway is a state road, so the state government controls that, pays for that, and obviously does any of the upgrades that occur on that road. So, yes, we would love to see dual carriageway, even if there were overtaking lanes that alternated from one side to the other, so you always had 3 lanes effectively. That would be a great start, because just the lack of overtaking lanes obviously can cause some accidents there. But at the moment, I think the main focus for people is just to get the road condition at a reasonable level. There are a lot of roadworks that have been going on. I actually allow myself, I do go down to Wellington regularly, I allow myself about 10 minutes extra to go to Wellington at the moment, because I assume that it's somewhere along the way I'm going to be in some roadworks or having to slow down, or just be able to go slow enough to avoid some of those potholes you see along the way. So I think that's the main priority at the moment, get the road condition in a good condition, and then we'll have to start lobbying again to try and expand the width of that road.
Well, on Thursday when I speak with Dougal, I'll raise the question with him.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Now, there were some tourism awards announced last week.
It was actually a really exciting ceremony to be at. I haven't been to the New South Wales Tourism Awards before, and we were a finalist in, or the LWJ was a finalist in one category, and we had a few of our team members going down, so I thought it would be appropriate for me to be there to support them. I happened to be in Sydney at the time anyway for a country mayor's meeting, so I thought it would be great to go out and have a look at that. And it was a really good event to be at. The LWJ won a silver award, so that was pretty exciting for our team there. The Taronga Western Plains Zoo, who do seem to win lots of awards, they were there as well, and they won 2 gold awards on the night. And it was great to be there to support the zoo. It's not a council-run function, but it is so important for Dubbo. I thought it was great to be there to support the zoo. Steve Hinks, the general manager of the zoo, was pretty excited to see the mayor there. Actually mentioned the fact that they had their mayor there while he was on stage doing the acceptance speech, so he was pretty excited by that. But the other thing that was noticeable, Rod, was everywhere when we were listening to the different categories through the night, and when they were reading out the finalists and then the winners, there were lots of areas in the region that were mentioned. So places like Mudgee and Orange and Bathurst, obviously, and Dubbo, these places were regularly featured in the various finalist categories and the various winners. And I saw the minister responsible, Ben Franklin, there on the night, and I know him from a couple of times he's been out in Dubbo and given us some significant chunks of money, $5 million he gave us recently for the Ragery Cultural Tourism Centre. So I had a bit of a chat to him, and I did point out the number of places around the region that were mentioned in regularity. And so that was hopefully stuck in his mind, the fact that this region is really strong in tourism. Even at our table, where we had a silver award, we had 2 different Bathurst businesses sitting at our same table, just as a coincidence, and both of those businesses won silver awards as well. So there were a number of winners from the region there, which was great for the whole region.
Absolutely. The more people we can come to Western New South Wales, be it by really good highways or flying into Dubbo Airport, wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. And it does show the strength of the region, and we all benefit. So when someone comes to visit Dubbo, they might also go out further and visit Narromine, or go out to Bawarrina, or all sorts of regions around the area. But again, when they do come to anywhere in the region, we're all a chance of picking up some of that tourism dollar. So that's, I think, a really important thing, that we do work collaboratively together.
All right. One of the most beautiful tourist attractions, I believe, in Dubbo is the Japanese Garden.
Yeah, it is. Actually, the Shoyuan Japanese Gardens and the Jurian Tea House there, in terms of authenticity, that was a present by our sister city, Minakamo, 20 years ago. And many people comment that it is the most authentic Japanese tea house and Japanese garden in this nation. Now, we didn't build that, we didn't make that. It was offered as a gift to us back in 1999. The mayor of Minakamo was visiting for our sesquicentenary celebrations, and he said, "We would like to give you a tea house and Japanese garden." And of course, the mayor of the day, Alan Smith, said, "Yes, please, thank you very much, we would love to see that." And then 2 or 3 years later, in 2002, Mayor Greg Matthews and Mayor Kawai from Minakamo officially opened that garden. Now the tea house was built in Japan by a man by the name of Mr. Itazu. He built it there in Japan. They put it in shipping containers, brought it over to Australia and then rebuilt it with his craftsmen that he brought from Japan with him. So in terms of authenticity, it's fantastic. The Japanese garden was built by Japanese gardeners, and they still come back every year, Rod, to make sure that the garden is kept to the right standard, instruct our gardeners on the way to look after that garden, and this is all at no cost to the Dubbo community. So it's a very generous ongoing donation from Minakamo. Mr. Itazu was here on the weekend. He was very proud to see how his creation from over 20 years ago is still looking absolutely fantastic. And a number of people come from around the state, in fact, even from outside the state. I know there are people from Victoria, for example, that travel to our tea house to do tea ceremonies in a very traditional way. My knees have almost recovered from a couple of tea ceremonies on the weekend. Japanese people grow up using their knees much more than Australians do, so it's a bit of hard work for Aussies to be kneeling on their knees during a tea ceremony, but I'm happy to do that as part of the tradition and to really thank the Japanese delegation that we had here over the weekend.
It's a wonderful story, and it's a beautiful place to visit, and I dare say there's been one or two people have their wedding photos there.
Absolutely right. There are weddings held there regularly, and on the weekend when you had part of the celebration there, a huge crowd of people from Dubbo turned up there to be part of the celebrations. And I did explain to the delegation there that many weddings are held there, and they were very excited to think that people were in a Japanese garden having an Australian wedding. But even as we walked around on the weekend, and I took the delegation around and showed them different parts of the garden, just the number of people that were sitting on the grass, having a picnic, enjoying the entertainment there, they were really happy that people were enjoying their gardens. And again, you can imagine if you give a present of that significance to another place 7,500 kilometres away somewhere else in the world, you really like the idea that people are actually using it and utilising that, and they were really impressed that people do use that present from Minakamo.
Was there anything else we were going to talk about today?
Well, community leaders breakfast, I wouldn't mind mentioning if that's okay.
Yes.
I just think it's a really important thing that we do. It is unique across the nation. Nowhere else in the nation do you have a regular gathering of all three levels of government in an open forum. And this Saturday, 26th of November, is the next time we'll do that at the Rotunda in Dubbo on Church Street and Macquarie Street, the intersection there. We'll have from 7:30am to 9:30am, we'll have Mark Colton, our federal member, Dougal Saunders, our state member, myself and fellow councillors, some senior council staff, all just gathered there for people to walk up and ask questions, give us some issues they might want dealt with, give us some ideas on what things they want to see. It's an open forum, bit of free brekkie along the way there, some free coffees, just a great opportunity to talk to those three levels of government side by side.
A good event to end on. Matthew Dickinson, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Rod. Great to be chatting to you again.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.